Have you ever heard of Korean parents who willingly choose Cebu, a relatively quiet island in the Philippines, instead of the elite private schools in Seoul, or the prestigious boarding schools in New York and London? At first glance, it may sound unusual, even irrational. After all, in Korea, education is often considered a race, a ladder to the nation's top universities, and the ultimate measure of a family's success. Parents in Gangnam or Daegu typically design their children's schedules with military precision early morning classes, long hours at cram schools, endless test preparations, and extracurricular activities designed not for leisure, but for resumes. For decades, this has been the image of serious education. Yet quietly, a growing number of families are turning away from this high-pressure system. Instead of sending their children to Western capitals or investing in costly international programs, they are moving to Cebu. At first, Cebu may not appear to be an education hub. It is famous for beaches, snorkeling, and island resorts. Tourists flock to it for vacation, not for classrooms. But beneath that surface lies a network of private academies and international style. Schools built with one clear purpose: to serve the growing Korean diaspora and their educational needs. What makes this decision so surprising is not simply that parents are seeking English instruction. English academies exist in Seoul, and many Koreans can afford to send their children to the United States, Canada, or Australia. The real reason lies deeper. Parents describe how their children in Korea were exhausted, joyless, and constantly burdened by competition. When they came to Cebu, something unexpected happened. Their children did not just learn English more naturally. They learned how to breathe, how to smile, and how to be children again. This is the paradox at the heart of the story. In Seoul, parents believed they were raising their children for success. In Cebu, they discovered they were raising them for life. And this surprising choice has quietly grown into a movement, one that challenges long-held assumptions about what true education should mean. At first, almost every Korean parent who arrives in Cebu gives the same reason. We came here for English. It sounds practical. In a globalized world, English fluency opens doors to universities, jobs, and international opportunities. Korean society has long treated English proficiency as both a skill and a social marker. Parents calculate test scores, TOEFL requirements, and the advantage that fluent English gives their children. Cebu, with its abundance of English-speaking teachers from the Philippines and North America, seems like an affordable and effective alternative to studying abroad in the West. But within weeks, these same parents begin to say something very different. They notice that what their children are gaining is not simply language but humanity. A mother recalls that back in Seoul, her son avoided school, hid under the table when it was time for math, and lived with constant anxiety. In Cebu, he began laughing more, picking up books on his own, even running to his teacher for a morning hug. She admitted, "I sent him here to learn English, but he is learning how to be human." This transformation goes beyond vocabulary or grammar. Children learn to express emotions, to communicate without fear of being wrong, and to form friendships across language barriers. The classroom is no longer a battlefield of competition, but a safe space of curiosity. Ironically, as their confidence grows, their academic performance improves as well. Parents are often surprised after a year or two in Cebu. Children return to Korea not only fluent in English, but also stronger students, more resilient and motivated. For many families, this realization is a turning point. Cebu is not simply an English learning destination. It is a place where education means becoming whole, where children gain both the language of the world and the language of the heart. One of the first shocks Korean parents experience in Cebu happens the moment they walk into a classroom. In Korea, the teacher usually stands at the front, often behind a podium or blackboard, delivering lectures while students sit quietly, memorizing and obeying. The relationship is formal, distant, and sometimes even fear-based. Authority is rarely questioned, and mistakes can feel humiliating. Parents are used to this strict hierarchy, believing it is necessary to maintain order and discipline. But in Cebu, the classroom feels completely different. Parents often describe their surprise when they see teachers sitting on the floor, surrounded by children. Instead of commanding, the teacher is listening, encouraging students to share ideas, even asking questions themselves. Students call their teachers by first names, or with affectionate titles like Miss Angela. They hug them every morning without fear of breaking boundaries. For children who grew up fearing the stern image of Korean instructors, this intimacy is almost unthinkable. The shift in atmosphere has profound effects. Children who once hesitated to speak in class suddenly raise their hands. Those who were shy or withdrawn begin to share stories, drawings, and even jokes. Parents see their sons and daughters not only studying English, but also learning emotional openness and respect through trust, not fear. For many Korean families, this is the first time they realize that education can be warm. A classroom can be a place where discipline and kindness coexist, where learning is not about memorization but about dialogue. This cultural shock is often the moment parents admit to themselves, something important is happening here, something we never expected. Beyond language and classroom culture, what parents notice most clearly is the emotional transformation of their children. In Korea, many students grow up under relentless pressure, daily cram schools, late-night study sessions, and constant comparisons with peers. Even bright children often carry heavy stress, showing little joy in learning. Parents become accustomed to sighs, resistance, or even tears when school is mentioned. In Cebu, however, something begins to soften. Within weeks, parents see changes they once thought impossible. A child who used to hide from homework now voluntarily opens a book. A girl who avoided speaking in class begins to raise her hand. A boy who struggled with bullying finds genuine friends, even across language and cultural barriers. Most importantly, children begin to smile again. They laugh more, they play freely, and they express their feelings without fear of being scolded. Ironically, these emotional improvements do not come at the expense of academics. In fact, parents often observe the opposite. Once their children gain confidence and joy, their academic performance naturally rises. Students who spend 1 or 2 years in Cebu frequently return to Korea not only fluent in English, but also stronger and more resilient learners. The combination of emotional security and academic readiness becomes a powerful advantage. For Korean parents, this is perhaps the most unexpected gift. They came to Cebu seeking English proficiency, but they discovered a new form of success. Children who are not only smarter, but also happier, braver, and more compassionate. It is in these small but profound changes that many families realize they are witnessing a true rebirth of their children. When Korean families move to Cebu, most expect changes in their children. What they rarely anticipate is how much they themselves will change. In Korea, many parents live like managers of their child's academic career. They plan every hour's school, after-school lessons, piano practice, English vocabulary drills at the dinner table. Success is measured by grades, rankings, and university acceptance. Mothers and fathers are caught in the same race as their children, often anxious, comparing constantly with other families. But in Cebu, that rigid routine begins to loosen. One mother admitted that during her first month she panicked, believing the environment was too soft. Uniforms were casual, teachers laughed with students, and afternoons were left unstructured. She even considered returning to Seoul. Yet slowly, her perspective shifted. She watched her son run to class, barefoot, chase dragonflies after school, and share crayons with new friends. She realized he was not falling behind. He was finally coming alive. As weeks turned into months, many parents noticed themselves asking different questions. Instead of, "What was your score today?" they began to ask, "Did you smile? Did you help someone?" They stopped timing homework with a stopwatch. They deleted group chats where mothers compared grades like badges of honor. For the first time in years, they sat on balconies, sipping coffee while watching their children play. This transformation is not easy. Parents still face doubts from relatives back home, still worry about the future. But in Cebu, they discover a new measure of success, not only raising high-achieving students, but raising children who are kind, confident, and joyful. And in that discovery, parents themselves find freedom too. In Cebu, small daily moments reveal profound change. A boy sharing crayons with a new friend, children running barefoot in the grass, parents watching quietly instead of rushing. These scenes show education beyond grades, an education of empathy, kindness, and belonging. For many Korean families, Cebu redefines success. In Seoul, children were raised for exams in Cebu. They are raised for life with joy, trust, and humanity at the center.